Cole Palmer is the 10th youngest English Champions League goal scorer. Congratulations, a brilliant performances there. Phil Foden once again pulling the strings and looking completely calm and composed as he did it. Let's cross to Bruges now and speak to the Guardian's Manchester football writer, Jamie Jackson. Good morning, Jamie.
Jamie.
Good morning.
Morning. First of all, you're in Bruges. What's it like at this time of year?
Not actually as cold as I thought. I actually walked to the game yesterday evening. It was a really lovely sort of autumn's evening, so not too bad.
Excellent. Tell us about this game then, because like we were saying there, a few performances on the pitch for some youngsters that they must have been very chuffed with. What was it like overall?
Yeah, I mean, Guardiola actually called it one of their best performances ever in Europe. And, he's a bit of an arch perfectionist. So for him to say that shows how impressed he was. He really doesn't throw around too many compliments when he doesn't need to, just because he likes to keep them focused. But, I agree with that. I mean, they were close to unbelievable. It was absolutely brilliant from them. And, yeah, I mean, Phil Foden, crumbs. On a night like sort of last night, you look at him, you think, who is this guy? I mean, he just gets better and better, and he's only sort of 20, 21. I mean, he was easily the best player on the pitch, and think about this, there's Kevin De Bruyne there, Jack Grealish, I mean, there's some proper footballers, but he was just streets ahead, and I think he is a class above. I mean, De Bruyne's probably got a shout for being their best player the last few years, but Foden's getting up there, and yeah, Cole Palmer comes on, and it's going to sound ridiculous to say, but I wasn't that surprised to see him score, because he did that. He's done that, for City before. He scored a hat-trick at the weekend for the under-23s after coming on as a substitute late in the league game, and he's another one who's trained with the squad, the City squad, under Guardiola, sort of 2 or 3 years. And, the future is particularly bright for him, and also City if they're producing, youngsters like Foden and Cole Palmer.
Yeah, and also, Jamie, if you put it in perspective, is that what Bruges did against PSG, they drew the game, caused them lots of problems. City were never in danger at all last night.
No, exactly. And, this is, you've got to just sort of keep on admiring Guardiola, because the hunger of the guy, he really is starting to remind me of Ferguson. Obviously, he's got a long way to go to sort of match in terms of longevity and what Ferguson did at United. But you understand what I mean? He doesn't care about what's happened yesterday or last week or the last game or last season. All he cares about is the next game. And, he added a player like Jack Grealish basically to sort of increase competition to ensure that the squad, remains on its toes. Obviously that was in the summer. And yeah, I mean, they got the return, against Brugge in sort of 2 weeks' time, and he was sort of clear to say it won't be the same sort of game. In other words, be careful, my players. But if you're Brugge, you're actually probably praying it's not the same sort of game after what City did. I mean, you're looking at it last night, and obviously I'm lucky enough to watch a heck of a lot of football, and it was almost embarrassing's not quite the right word for Brugge, because that would be disrespectful. But you felt a little bit sort of sorry for them, because they're a very good team. I think they've only lost one in all competitions all season. You understand what I mean? And yet City are just basically a complete schooling.
Have we ignored in the Premier League that City have played some really tough away games? Because if you think of Leicester away, and we think of Spurs, and then you go Chelsea, Liverpool, you could even make a point, are they in a little bit of a false position in the Premier League as well? Because them away games are really tough.
Yeah, I mean, they Guardiola, they continue just to sort of impress and steamroller, through these fixtures. The international break, I know it annoys or sort of upsets every manager who has to deal with it. But, when you talk about those fixtures, that they've come in and around the international break that just was, and we've got another one coming up. And I think you're right. I mean, the look, obviously last season at this kind of juncture, they weren't great, and they went on to win it by basically a country mile, the league I'm talking about. They look a heck of a lot better already, and they are only going to become better because the players feed off Guardiola and vice versa, and he's always so sort of careful to make sure that everything's done properly, the players are focused, and when you've got the quality they have, listen, of course they should be winning games, don't get me wrong, but what you say is a very good point. They've come through a very tough run of away fixtures, and you look at the league and okay, they're not leading, but they're basically up there, aren't they? And I think them and Liverpool are the ones to beat in our Premier League.
I just want to go back to the game last night, because the fullbacks both scored. Kyle Walker tweeted saying, well, that doesn't happen very often. That was his first Champions League goal. But also João Cancelo, the way that he made that run, controlled the ball, and then the finish of it as well. The commentators were saying, "Well, that was the striker's finish." It was just it's just so many impressive things about their game.
Yeah, I think with Guardiola, because he's such a brilliant manager, and the players really sort of respect him. If he's saying to someone like Cancelo, you sort of bomb ahead and sort of try and create as he does from fullback, and also obviously score. And I think it's got to add something to your confidence and also to your sort of ability, because you start to believe, I can do a little bit more and a little bit more. And this is what he's great at, squeezing these extra percentages out. And you're right. I mean, that if that goal had been the goal of the game, it had been 1-0 Cancelo's finish, we'd all be talking about what a heck of a goal that was. Because as you describe it there, that control on his chest and then finish as the keeper's coming out, as Miguel's coming out. If Aguero scores it, or Harry Kane, or a striker, inverted commas, then you'd be saying quite rightly, what a brilliant finish. And this is a sort of a fullback doing it, coming up from left back. And so it just goes to show how it sounds a bit of a cliche, but I think it's true. He does have a kind of a team of total footballers, really, Guardiola. He wants them all to be able to do everything, and that's basically if you're signed by him, he is basically saying you are a brilliant all-round player. You're going to play as a midfielder, in attack, as we're talking about Cancelo, when he can bomb up, and obviously in defence if you are a defender. And this is why I think he's so good. He sort of sees different qualities in players and can bring that out of them as well, get them to produce.
And you could make the point, the Harry Kane deal didn't go through. There's never been an issue from after that moment. It was, well, okay, move on. And and you feel, well, okay, he's got a lot of tremendous players, hasn't he, Jamie? He's got loads of great players in many different positions, but there was never a moment where you felt, well, okay, hasn't happened. We're just going to keep going and do what we do, and we do it really well.
Yeah, I mean, he really is the king of saying no excuses when it comes to sort of, if you've got injuries or it's a relentless schedule. I mean, he does say, he has said more than once consistently that they would love a sort of 20-25 goal striker like a Kane. But again, I just wonder if that's a little bit of kidology to the squad to say, well, I'm saying that publicly, then in the dressing room he might point to those remarks and say, prove me wrong sort of thing. But I tell you what, if they were to sort of sign Harry Kane or a Haaland, it'd be interesting to see how good they would then become, because as we're sort of discussing here, they don't seem at the moment to need an out-and-out striker. And I think there will be times, of course there will be, when maybe they miss one. But of course, strikers, if you've got, an Aguero or a Kane, they can miss opportunities as well. Of course they can. So, the way he's sort of not remodelling, but he is sort of making, our game and, our domestic game sort of have a little bit of a sort of a rethink about what's possible from all players and teams and how you go about winning football games. And that in a way is kind of the compliment to Guardiola. He makes you sort of reimagine what football can be, and that's a massive thing to be able to do.
Who knew the answer was Cancelo the whole time? Don't worry about Harry Kane, it's fine, we've got Cancelo. Anyway, right, Joe, thank you very much. Enjoy Bruges. When are you coming back?
I'm just about to get a Eurostar very soon, thank you.
Fabulous. Okay, safe journey back. Thanks for chatting to us this morning.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday morning 6 till 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.